Good morning. My name is Dave Tarbell, and I'm pleased to be acting as your worship associate this morning. Our service is being led by one of our longtime members, Mike Hoffman. This service is one of our summer services, each led by a different member of the congregation. This year, our focus topic is mistakes, making them, avoiding them, living with them, all different perspectives on mistakes. I'd like to offer a special welcome to any who are new to our fellowship. Our services vary a great deal in both style and content. I hope you will visit with us more than once to get a true sense of who we are. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion, liberal in the classic sense of being open to a variety of ideas. We have no single creed that we all must adhere to. We are guided by our 7 principles and a variety of sources of inspiration. You can learn more about us by visiting our website at UUFSB.org. Following this morning's announcements, June Cravani will offer a brief statement in support of our denomination's proposed 8th principle. Please stay with us after the service for a short, somewhat chaotic period of greeting and crosstalk. It can be a time to check in with old friends or perhaps connect with someone new. You can have a deeper conversation with a few people if you check out of this meeting and join the small group chat link. That option is available on our UUFSB.org or in the newsletter announcement. I would like to read a land acknowledgement statement written by our minister, the Reverend Margie Allen. The congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook honors the indigenous people whose traditional and ancestral land included the acres we claim as ours today. We recognize the Sitalkat people for whom this territory was stolen incrementally through grossly inequitable, opaque, and duplicitous exchanges between 1655 and 1662. Their descendants live on today as the Sitalkat Nation. Among them are neighbors residing in Setauket Bethel Christian Avenue Laurel Hill Historic District. We acknowledge the ancestors and survivors of this place and realize that we are here because of the sacrifices that were forced upon them. We honor their legacy, their lives, and their descendants who carry on tribal traditions for present and future generations.
Good morning. I am here to talk about an important insight of UU theology, the belief that revelation is not sealed. We are meant to build upon our former understandings. We are meant to learn better and to do better. And this insight is key to understanding the 8th principle movement. When the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations was formed in 1961, we agreed upon our core beliefs and we wrote them into our bylaws. Over time, it became apparent that some changes were needed. By the late 1970s, the UU Women's Federation had proposed changes that would eliminate sexist language. And the rise of the ecological consciousness in the country caused us to consider our relationship with the web of life on Earth more deeply. A long discernment and revision process resulted in the creation of the 7 principles and the list of sources of our tradition. They were finalized at General Assembly in 1985, and it was understood that continued revision and renewal would be both necessary and good. I believe that we are being challenged to move forward in this, our time. The 8th principle movement asks us to commit to building a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions which accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. Individual congregations, 117 of them so far, have engaged in discernment and voted to adopt the 8th principle for their congregations. They are preparing to engage in the work to live out that commitment. We are now at that inflection point, the place where growth can happen. What the 8th principle does is take the implicit value that we proclaim as UUs, the worth and dignity of every human person, and set it before us explicitly as a goal that we commit to work toward in a concrete way right now. Now is the moment that can become our renewal and recommitment. And I am grateful for a faith that is open to change.
As you focus on the sound of the morning bell, may you enter into the spirit of worship.
Our chalice lighting will be accompanied by words written by Gordon McKeeman. Let there be light. Let it shine in dark places, in moments of pain, in times of grief, in the darkness of hatred, violence, oppression, where there is discouragement and despair, wherever darkness is to be put to flight, let there be light.
Our opening words today are by Sharon Wiley. You whose hearts are broken, come in. You whom pain has touched, and sorrow and shock. You who have cried this week and read the news with sadness. You whom loss has shadowed. You who grieve. Come in. Come in. You with hearts open to joy and hope, come in. You whom love has touched, and friendship, and wonder. You who have laughed this week and felt gratitude for life's many blessings. You to whom gifts are given in abundance. You who rejoice, come in, come in. All our hearts are broken and open. All of us here grieve and rejoice. This is our place. This is our hour to gather and sing and cry and laugh. Come in. Let us worship together. Now, please join in singing hymn number 127, Can I See Another's Woe, as performed by Bethany Riddle, Peter Winkler, and Deede Cooke. It is our spiritual practice to have a meditation in words, in silence, and in song. Our words today are by Starhawk. They will be followed by a minute of silence, and then we will take you out of the silence with hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. Community means strength. We are all longing to go home to someplace we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into our power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends. Someplace where we can be free. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
We support and sustain our fellowship through gifts of time, talent, and money. For us, giving is a spiritual practice. Each month, we share the plate with an organization devoted to social justice. This month's social justice partner is Island Harvest, Long Island's largest hunger relief organization. Their mission is clear and simple: to end hunger on Long Island. Volunteers and staff deliver millions of pounds of fresh produce each year to food pantries and organizations serving people in need. They sponsor a summer food program for kids in 70 communities when school lunches are no longer available. People are hungry in our community. Your contributions to Island Harvest can make a big difference in their lives. You can send a check to the office, use the link posted in the chat right now, or you can click on the donation button on our website, UUFSB.org. Please give generously.
Thanks to Tom Allison for that wonderful rendition of Duane Allman's Little Martha. I'd like to talk today about a difficult subject, suicide. I'm going to talk about the stories of two people who were touched by suicide. One man who attempted suicide and survived, and another woman whose son died by suicide. I'll give you some information from experts in the field of suicidology, offer some statistics, and expel some myths. I will tell you about resources that are available as well. I'll give you some information about what you can look for and what you can do if you have a feeling that someone is in trouble and may be having thoughts of suicide. At this point, I need to say that this is a subject that can trigger very strong reactions, particularly those among us who have been touched by suicide of a loved one or someone in their community or workplace. If this talk brings up feelings that are too difficult to manage, you may want to tune out for this service. If that is the case, please reach out for help to discuss your reactions with someone you can trust or a professional. You can also contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Please don't keep your thoughts and feelings to yourself. Briefly, here's my connection to suicide. As a licensed clinical social worker and an administrator for the New York State Office of Mental Health, I was asked to attend a 2-day conference on the subject of suicide. At that time, I heard from many experts in the field, including some who had lived experience of attempting suicide themselves and surviving. When I came back to my office, along with others, I was tasked with bringing together a regional coalition of individuals who were interested in preventing suicide on Long Island. It has been my privilege to work with the Suicide Prevention Coalition of Long Island for the past 16 years, and I currently co-chair this diverse group. The group includes people in the fields of mental health and addiction, education, crisis response services, law enforcement, social services, and individuals with lived experience as well as others. The group offers training, public education, and several member agencies provide response in the community when suicide occurs. We have a website which you can check out at www.preventsuicideli.org. Here's a slide showing our homepage. We will put this information in the chat box along with contact information for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and our 2 designated crisis response agencies, in Suffolk Response Crisis Center and in Nassau, Long Island Crisis Center. I also attended an intensive training course by LivingWorks to deliver a 2-day training curriculum called ASSIST, Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. Here's some data to consider. Suicide in the United States has been increasing over the past 2 decades. Since 1999, the suicide rate in this country has increased by almost 30%. In 2018, there were 48,344 suicides in the United States, 3 times as many as there were homicides, around 16,000. Suicide was the 10th leading cause of death overall. It's the 2nd leading cause of death for those between the ages of 10 and 34, and the 4th leading cause of death for those between 35 and 54. In Suffolk County alone, there are about 130 deaths listed by the medical examiner as suicide each year. Now I'd like to tell you the story of Kevin Hines. Kevin is one of few people who jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge and survived. Much of this story comes from a Wikipedia article. Born of two drug-addicted parents, Kevin Hines was 9 months old when he was adopted by Pat and Debbie Hines, both from San Francisco. At 10, he was put on Tegretol to help control epileptic seizures. The medicine worked well for him. He was athletic as a teen, becoming a football player and wrestler. At 16, he was taken off the medication because he'd had no more seizures. He was unaware, and his doctors were unaware, that the Tegretol had been suppressing characteristics of bipolar disorder, and combined outside stresses impacted him as well. Around that time, his parents split up, and Kevin remained with his mom. Debbie said that Kevin changed dramatically. He was also deeply affected by the suicide of a drama teacher. Manifestations of his depression included regular mood swings, paranoia, hallucinations, and hearing voices, as well as becoming harder to control. In January of 2000, Hines moved in with his father after a serious argument with his mom. In September of that year, his girlfriend broke up with him. Over that weekend, he wrote and discarded a number of suicide notes until the 7th one, which he was satisfied with. He told his father, "I don't want to be here anymore." His father replied, "You have an obligation to be here. We love you." On Monday, September 25th of that year, Pat was concerned about his son and offered to spend the day with him, watching movies or bring him to his workplace. Kevin declined and hugged and kissed Pat goodbye as he was dropped off at City College, as he thought he'd never see his father again. Hines later said he'd actually felt fine because he was satisfied in knowing he was going to end his pain. He took a bus to the Golden Gate Bridge, and then he began hearing voices in his head telling him to die. On his walk up the pathway, he wept. Kevin contemplated not jumping, reasoning that if any person showed that they cared about him, he would not commit suicide. A woman did come up to him and asked him to take her picture at the bridge, but she did not mention anything about his tears or ask about his well-being. After she left, he took several steps and threw himself over the rail. After leaping, Hines had instant regret. He noted, when my hands left that rail and my legs curled over, as soon as I left the bridge, I thought, I don't want to die. God, please save me. He had gone over the railing head first, but when he regretted his decision, turned himself around to land in the water legs first. Luckily, a woman who saw him jump called 911, and the Coast Guard was able to reach him in time and save him. I had the pleasure of meeting Kevin and his wife many years ago. Why is it important to share his story? Because like so many who have attempted suicide, Kevin talks about his ambivalence. He didn't fully want to die, but in his despair and desperation, he just wanted the emotional pain to end. It also illustrates that suicide often has multiple contributing factors and stressors. Unfortunately, it is a permanent solution to temporary problems, usually one or more significant losses in one's life. This can be a loss of relationship, of finances, loss of a job or an opportunity, or a loss of face or reputation. Someone considering suicide is usually feeling so overwhelmed by the issues they are facing that they can only see one resolution. What does someone who is thinking about suicide look and act like? Here are some things you may notice. Often this represents a change from their usual behavior. Talking about wanting to die or kill themselves. Looking for a way to kill themselves, like searching online or buying a gun. Talking about feeling hopeless or having no reason to live. Talking about feeling trapped or in unbearable pain. Talking about being a burden to others. Increasing use of alcohol or drugs. Acting anxious or agitated, behaving recklessly, sleeping too little or too much. Withdrawing or isolating themselves. Showing rage or talking about seeking revenge, and extreme mood swings. Many people have thought that if someone is determined to kill themselves, we can't stop them or prevent it. While this may be true for a minority of individuals, someone who is having thoughts of suicide usually has some ambivalence about it, as Kevin Hines did. If we can acknowledge their struggle and help them find some reason to live, or even a wish that they had a reason to live, this can help shift their thinking and their sense of hopelessness. What can you do to help? Here are some suggestions. First and foremost, listen to them. Let them know that you are concerned and want to help. You can ask if they are thinking about suicide. Yes, you can use the S word. Contrary to popular belief, this will not put the idea in their head. It is often a relief for someone to acknowledge these thoughts. Though it can be difficult, take the time to hear what they're struggling with, what they're feeling, and what they're planning. If someone acknowledges that they're thinking about suicide, connect with them with someone who can help, a suicide prevention hotline, or a professional trained in dealing with individuals contemplating suicide. If needed, they can be assessed in an emergency room. Preferably, obtain their agreement to get help right away. If they share information about what they're planning to do, try to separate them from those means. For example, if they're planning to take a bunch of pills, you might ask them to give you the pills to hold. Do not promise to keep their secret. Someone who is thinking about suicide usually can see no other way of dealing with the issues they're struggling with to reduce their unbearable pain they're feeling at the time. By patiently and persistently hearing them and validating their feelings, we may be able to help them see that support is available and there are ways to go on living. Often family and the support of a faith community can make a huge difference. Not all suicides can be prevented. Some people make their decision and don't leave clues to their plan. However, if we are in the right place at the right time and are willing to notice someone's pain and ask the question, "Are you okay? Are you thinking about suicide?" it can be possible to intervene. I'd like to end now with a story of Hallie Toomey and her family. They're the subjects of a documentary film called Scattering CJ by Long Island filmmaker Andrea Kalin. Hallie's son, CJ, ended his own life at the age of 20. As stated in the film's trailer, in the aftermath of CJ's suicide, his family was plunged into an unrelenting grief and guilt. In a moment of desperate inspiration, Hallie put out an open call on Facebook, looking only for a handful of travelers who might help fulfill her son's wish to see the world by scattering some of his ashes in a place of beauty or special meaning. 21,000 strangers liked the Facebook page, and 1,000 volunteers have since taken CJ to over 100 countries. While crisscrossing the globe, his ashes and his family's story have given rise to a social media phenomenon, a worldwide community that has congregated in solidarity and empathy in dealing with a still heavily stigmatized and misunderstood form of mental illness. Suicide is a devastating event for the family and the community. In her own way, Hallie and her family created healing and meaning out of their pain and from their tragedy. Each suicide can touch many people: family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, and community members. In one 2019 study, an average of 135 people were affected by each suicide. We need to destigmatize this subject and make it okay for us to talk about suicide and okay for someone to ask for help when they need it. We need to make mental health and wellness a priority and just as important as our physical health and wellness. Thank you for listening. Now please join in singing hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. Thank you, John and Lee. Today's closing words are by David Kohlmeyer. Spark of life, wherever you come from, wherever you go, may we not be afraid of our unknowing. May we be open to our vulnerable places of doubt, so that even in the presence of death, we will know the presence of life and find hope in all we can never know.
We will extinguish the challenge along with words by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world.
The words for our benediction are by Norman V. Naylor. Our eyes and minds now turn toward the ordinary, leaving this space made sacred by our presence. Take with you at least some seed of understanding, hope, and courage, and drop it into the confusion of the world. Nourish the seed that it might grow as a tree of life, giving shelter to the weary and hope to the despairing. Be yourself a branch of the tree of life. Amen. Blessed be.